Welcome to The Bridge, the official podcast for the University of Maryland, Baltimore School of Pharmacy Patients Program. The Patients Program is the bridge between the community and the researchers. The Patients Program created this partnership to help researchers listen to the community's voice in order to build a bridge to an effective learning healthcare community. Here's your host, Rodney Elliott.
Hello, everyone. I'm Rodney Elliott, and welcome to The Bridge. We had a conversation with a PPA graduate, Lisa Schill, and she sent us a message about someone that has a fantastic story. Her journey, guys, has been awesome. She's been through trials, tribulations, but in our communication and knowing her, her spirit has been up. She has a very lively, high spirit. And when you hear about her journey, you may think like, wow, with all that going on, she still feels passionate about the work that she does and the people that she speaks for. So today is going to be an awesome session where we're talking about something that I didn't know a lot about prior to running into our new guest or meeting our new guest, but I did learn a little bit about my research about rare diseases and invisible symptoms. That's a nugget of what we're going to talk about today. But when you hear those things, it's all a rare disease, and then you're talking about something that's rare and the symptoms are invisible. Sheesh, that's a lot to think about. So I'm going to introduce our guest here on The Bridge today. Her name is Romy Braunstein. Romy, do us a favor, do our listeners a favor and give them a quick intro to who you are and why you're here today.
Hi, my name is Romy. I'm from Philadelphia. I worked in radio for over 35 years until rare disease had another plan. My work was national. I worked for what was iHeartRadio now, it was Clear Channel back in the time, and I did national sales, regional, and local. And I did a lot of traveling, and I had clients all over the country and tied into a lot of our media events. So one day I was in Minneapolis for the Last Chance Summer Dance, which is a top 40 station, huge event in Minneapolis. And this actually featured in 1999, Shaggy, Christina Aguilera, and 98 Degrees. And they were actually on the front cover of the teen magazine that was my client. I was heavy lifting of magazines, so pretty heavy. And I herniated 2 discs. And I was in chronic pain at that moment, but I just had to keep moving. So did that event, came home. I was just in so much pain. I was kind of like walking sideways, but I didn't really have time to deal with it because I had to keep going to my next events. So long story short, 2 years later, Clear Channel closed their national offices, and they said to me, would you like to work for one of the single stations in Philadelphia? And this is from national down to like one station. Or would you like a year's severance with all benefits? I was like, y'all recycle, so I'll take the package. And when I did that, I got my back surgery immediately. And I also got weight loss surgery 4 weeks later. Because I thought it was my weight. I thought my weight messed up my back. I just wasn't sure. So I was like, get this all done now while I have a year off. So a year later, after the surgery, I had no pain. And that was kind of shocking because I thought I would experience pain as soon as my foot hit the ground. So I had no pain, went up and down the stairs at the hospital. One night, they let me out. A year later, I come back and I'm like, I don't have any groove. And I also lost 100 pounds. I'm like, why can't I move? I don't have a groove. Like, something's wrong with me. So I got a new MRI, went to the neurosurgeon, and I said, hey, do you think you messed up? And he's like, no, you're messed up. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm messed up. I don't understand what that means. He's like, well, there's something wrong with you. And I'm like, well, there's something wrong with you. You know, I had no clue what he was saying. So I had a list. He said, I'm going to send you to my neurology buddy downstairs. Let him take a look. He had a minute. I went down and took a look, and he said, oh, this is classic MS. Come back next week and we'll do a full workup. And I'm like, no. I mean, I said to myself, no way. People are born with MS. I mean, this is 2001. I did not know that. I just assumed, how do you get MS? How would I get MS? Like, it just doesn't make any sense. I didn't learn about this. Like, no, it has to be something else. Like, what kind of pill can fix this? I had really low mobility. My legs would give out. They felt like rubber. I had very muscle weakness, chronic fatigue, unexplained falls, slurred speech once in a while. And I would just chalk it off to, I guess this is the way it is. I don't know, but I was in a wheelchair and I hit it very well. So I just went on for several years like that. I decided to get a second opinion, and I went to a big university hospital in Philadelphia, and I was diagnosed with Lambert-Eaton myasthenic syndrome, and the acronym is LEMS. And lemsaware.com is a website that exists to talk about my disease. When I was diagnosed with LEMS through an EMG, which is an electromagnetic-gram, where they put needles in your face and it has muscle response, and also antibodies in my blood, which was another marker for many diseases. But this helped describe the LEMS. And what I asked the doctor, I don't understand what this means. If it's LEMS, and he's like, yeah, your calcium channels are blocked. So my immediate thought was, can I get milk? Will milk change it? That's how much I didn't know. Calcium, milk, he's like, no, there is no cure. There is no treatment. You're so rare. This is how it is. He never told me I was disabled. I literally walked out, staggered back to my car. And I was like, I don't know what this is. I'm no treatment. Just might as well go on with my life.
You can hear how detailed Romy's journey has been up until this point, and you finally do get that diagnosis of LEMS. I mentioned earlier in the intro, we talked something about invisible symptoms. Mm-hmm. I think we already know, or listeners should already know, that we're talking about LEMS is a very, very rare disease. There are only 7,000 rare diseases out here. So
yeah, this one has less than 2,000.
Less than 2,000 folks, and we're talking about invisible symptoms. So Romy, I just want to pause right here a little bit and want you to dive into or tell folks a little bit about what invisible symptoms are or what
Absolutely.
They look like.
The best way to visualize an invisible symptom is to think of a car. And a car has a dashboard. And when your check engine light goes on, or you check your oil light, you're going to go right to the car service place and get your oil put in. If you get a flat tire, you're going to immediately change your flat tire. We as humans are not born with check engine lights. We have what is referred to as invisible symptoms of chronic fatigue, unexplained falls, muscle weakness, blurred vision, some dizziness going on, tingling and numbness, things you can't see.
Right.
And that's our human dashboard. We need to be like our own dashboard and identify those symptoms as these are not normal, but we're not taught in school about it. So that's what the delays are all about. Because it's like, why am I feeling this way? This isn't normal. These same symptoms are with thousands of other diseases. That's why misdiagnosis is on the rise, unfortunately, because those core symptoms run across many diseases, including MS, lupus, right, some other big diseases that they're not even considered rare. So that's why you need to pay attention to your inner body and understand those signs. And there is a stigma. I've had police called on me for public intoxication from pedestrians, driving while drunk, going to my car. So it's a stigma because I'm 6'2", and if I stagger, I'm drunk. Can't be.
Oh, wow. You know what? I'm sitting down, so I'm 6'8", so I understand the thing about being height and about being tall. And when you talk about, invisible symptoms and something being misdiagnosed, or it looks as if someone could be intoxicated, but they're dealing with some of their health issues. Oh man, I can imagine how uncomfortable or unfortunate that was. But you talked about being misdiagnosed before, and the doctor said it was MS. Then you go back a couple years later because you still went on to continue your life, to still continue your journey. And when you found out the misdiagnosis was LEMS, talk to us a little bit about once you find out it was LEMS, okay, this didn't stop you from, still continuing on, and you actually had the opportunity to go out to Phoenix. What was that Phoenix experience like when you're talking about clinical trials?
Okay, so that was literally 8 years later. Because remember, there was no computers back in 2003. 2001, I was misdiagnosed with MS. 2003, I was diagnosed with Lambert-Eaton myasthenic syndrome. And I was told no cure, no anything. So all I go off of and neurologists go off of at that time was neurology notes around the country about new clinical trials, for different diseases.
Not a lot of information out there.
No information. I knew no other patients, and he told me there was no cure. So I just went on and did my work. He never even told me I was disabled. I was definitely disabled, but I had no idea. So I just went back to work. It was my defining moment in my life was when I went to Atlantic City, and we have a pool at our condominium, and my friend Amy was laying there at the pool, and she looked great in her bathing suit, getting sun. And I said, "Hey, Amy, how was your school year?" Because she's a school teacher. And she's, "Oh, it was really horrible this year. I can't teach anymore. I had to go back on disability. I had to go on disability." And I'm like, "Why?" And she goes, "Well, I was diagnosed with a rare disease." I'm like, "What?" Like, "But you look normal." And she's like, "But I'm not normal on the inside." Boom, a brick came out of the sky, smacked me in the head right there. I had an appointment coming up in October. And I figured, let me just wait until October. I'll ask my doctor when I go in for my 6-month appointment in Pennsylvania. So I went in. I said, "Hey, am I disabled?" And he's like, "Yes." And I said, "Well, why didn't you tell me?" And he said, "You never asked." I was like, "Wow, man, don't you take an oath?" Like, I was very disappointed. So
Hold up. I want to pause right there. Why were you disappointed, Romy? Like, because of how you were still going along about your life and still going along about your daily journey, that he didn't seem to give you that diagnosis or say that to you because he didn't want to think about that more than just persevering and pushing through.
Interesting you should say that. Not really, because he knew there was a LEMS clinical trial in the neurology notes and he never shared it with me.
Okay.
And the reason why is because he told me he didn't like paperwork. So what am I to do? He's like, "You're the only one. I don't like paperwork." And I was just like crushed.
That's hard. That's hard. But I'm glad you had the opportunity to go out there because that clinical trial actually helped you tremendously, right?
It saved my life in 20 minutes. I got off the wheelchair and I started walking. I'm like, "Yo, I'm going to the mall." I haven't been to a mall in 15 years. I was like, I can't believe I'm normal. I mean, literally, as normal as could be. So, and that was exactly when Google hit the internet and I was able to do a Google search on a clinical trial and it came up in Phoenix, Arizona. I called the doctor. He took my call immediately, told me about the clinical trial, had no patients on it. He said it will change my life immediately. And he said, "How fast can you get there?" I'm like, "Next week." I had just recently had a physical, so I was like physically okay. Even though I was really built for comfort, not for speed, had no groove. But I went there, signed up for the clinical trial. Yeah, there is a lot of paperwork, but it changed my life. Changed a lot of people's lives. And
so in addition to the medicine that they gave you that worked, that changed life, gave you a little bit more mobility, what are some other things that you benefited from attending or participating in that clinical trial? I know in the notes that you sent over, you talked about the support groups.
Yeah,
how important are the support groups to you along your journey?
So incredibly important. I'm glad you brought that up. And one of the reasons why is because you can talk to people. I knew no LEMS patients back then, but now there's a LEMS support group page. And I've met many LEMS patients since. And there's many disease groups on support groups on Facebook. And I urge people to go there because patient wisdom is priceless. And I'll give you a quick example. Everybody's pushing the COVID vaccine, especially if you're autoimmune compromised. You got to get the COVID vaccine, And then some people are saying, "No, it'll mess you up more." Well, one doctor told me in Phoenix, "Stay on your autoimmune suppression medication. Don't go off of it." My dermatologist, who's a researcher at another big hospital here in Philly, she said, "Go off of it for 5 days, your autoimmune suppression drug." So logically, I'm thinking in my head, if it takes 6 months to work, why would I go off 5 days? But let me ask the patient crowd. So I went into the LEMS community and I posed the question, how many of you have gone off your medication for a couple days to get your vaccine? It was an overwhelming stay on it. And that's how I made my decision. Literally.
Wow. That's awesome, Romy. And if you're listening to Romy right now, our audience, and you understand, you're trying to understand why she's doing this, or what keeps her going. Not only she's doing it for her health and for her safety, but she's speaking for other folks as well. And Romy, would it be safe to say I can call you a patient advocate? And if so, why is patient advocacy so important to you?
Well, the biggest reason why is because there is little to zero awareness about rare disease. That's one thing, because there's over 7,000 of them, so it's hard to kind of take in. But I am fueled by the fact that I had no education about this in school, and neither did anybody else. We didn't get past the game of operation in school, or dissecting frogs. Okay, so
remember that.
Yeah, right. And so between that and diagnosing a frog, we never talked about autoimmune diseases, cancer, all that. I mean, in high school, it really doesn't dive into that. It's just kind of surface stuff about health, influenza, whatever. So this is a deep dive, and people cannot, we don't know about it. And the only way to know about it is what fuels my passion is that I want to educate everybody in America, in every single community, because rare disease does not discriminate, that invisible symptoms mean there's something wrong and you need to go to the doctor and get it checked, because preventive measures can be taken to live a better quality of life. That's not with every disease, but a lot of them. There's treatments that literally you can live a better quality of life, and I'm proof.
Right, Rome, you definitely are proof, and I know you guys are hearing what we're saying right now, but we're doing this interview over Zoom, and I can look in Romy's background. She has tons of books in the background, so I know she's a knowledge seeker. We've exchanged a couple of emails, and she's always dropping different jewels on me and resources for the community. We know the Patients Program is what we're all about, helping, giving a voice to the voiceless or the underserved community. So the jewels you're dropping, Romy, right now are fantastic. And you talk about websites, chat groups, online. This disease happened pre-internet, and then once the internet was invented and available, I'm pretty sure you dig in deep on how to get this information. But how have you found ways to disseminate this information in creative ways to the community?
Well, because I worked in radio, and radio is the soundtrack of my life, and it also resonates with a lot of people, love music. I think, music is a part of most people's lives.
Yes, it is.
So with that being said, I had taken notes on my journey in kind of like a rap kind of way, like,
in a what? And I'm sorry, Romy.
In a rap song. I put together lyrics in a rap song that resonated with my experience and my journey. And that was fueled by going to so many seminars and advocacy meetings, and they'd have a singer-songwriter up there that would be singing a song on an acoustic guitar, and you just cried. It was so sad. And it was about their experience with their child or something, and that was just so horrifying. I wanted to do it in a unique way that would resonate with people, that they would repeat it over and over again in a message that could resonate with them, that they could understand, and then go on their own and learn from that and advocate for yourself.
So you heard it here. Romy has a rap song talking about her journey through this rare disease. And I too am a believer that music is in everyone's life. Music is the only thing you cannot control or prohibit from entering into your spirit. So we're gonna pause a little bit and take a listen to a short piece of this track that Romy created that talks about her journey.
Say hello to Romy. She the homie, rare situation, and it's not the only. Without warning, the symptoms came slow, and Romy act like she didn't know. Kept falling at work, weird feeling in her legs. Everybody said, Romy, it's in your head. Are you handicapped? Cause people don't give a crap. People whispering wherever you at. Symptoms can spark without no explanation. Rare disease comes in any situation. Look like she in pain, look like she need a cane. A lot going on, but you can't see a thing. thing. Symptoms can spark with no explanation. Rare disease comes in any situation. Look like she in pain, look like she need a cane. A lot going on, but you can't see a thing. 99 symptoms, you can't see one. 99 symptoms, don't know the next one.
We heard the rap song, Romy. It's fantastic. It's a way to disseminate information to our community. The Patients Program is what we're all about. We try to incorporate community members to participate in research, non-clinical research as well. And they're with us from the very beginning. They're with us in the end, and they're with us in the next phase, because a lot of times when they do participate with us, they become stakeholders, they become partners, and they become friends, and we stay in contact forever. So how do you, or what do you see is next along this journey? I mean, you've been misdiagnosed, you got the proper diagnosis, you're a patient advocate, you're finding ways to get information out to all communities in the language they understand, you're being creative with it. What's next for Romy?
Well, Rodney, I'm not going to stop until I have the Olympic torch lit and I can hold it out and go, okay, I did the national coverage, mic drop, and then I can say I've done it. And when that would include doing a radio rare-a-thon on every radio station in the country. I've already gotten approvals because I worked in radio and I have relationships with Steve Harvey, Mario Lopez, and even Rick Santos, who are all syndicated shows that run on the radio. But besides that, I have access to over 800 radio stations across the country. And I know this because I use them. And I'm able to use radio in a way that nobody else can in this community of rare disease. And all these folks that are in this community, scientists, pharmacies, they're not creative. They don't have that creative hat on, and they call themselves patient advocates. But I'm like, how can you be a patient advocate if you're not sending a message out to all the people in every community about the symptoms? Because here's the deal. You identify symptoms, boom, you make a doctor's appointment, you hopefully get a diagnosis, and then you're on treatment. And then the pharmaceutical companies will win. At the end, they're going to go on treatment, and it's not cheap. So at the end of the day, I want people to get a diagnosis. I've also learned through this journey that not everybody wants a diagnosis. They don't want a deal. They don't want to go to the doctor. And when I ran my TV segment with my rap song, I got 17 Facebook messengers from people that listened to it and looked me up. And all of them were very unique. Like, my sister has these symptoms, or my brother, my cousin, friend. I got to every single solitary one of them. And I also gave them my email address and said, personally reach out to me. I'll get you set. I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make them drink. I think that some people just don't want to get diagnosed, or they don't want to face
Romy,
what's going on.
That is part of it as well. That's part of the journey too. Because
Denial.
Again, ever since I met you in our phone calls and our emails, I've never sensed a feeling of self-pity or a feeling of pity me or anything like that. You've been really strong and in a positive light when it comes to this rare disease, and not only for yourself but for others. And I commend you on that.
Thank you.
I think your work is fantastic. I think it's needed in this area. Hopefully this interview today helps someone as well. Romy, I can talk to you all day about this situation. I know we'll still stay in contact and work on other projects, things of that nature. But before we go, I want you to tell our listeners where they can follow you or where they can reach out to you. And also, once this is posted, we'll share the links as well.
Absolutely. Well, I am on social media, on Instagram, Romy on Rare, ROMY on RARE. On Instagram, Romy on Rare Disease on Facebook, and I'm also on Romy on Rare on Twitter. And people can reach out to me or Facebook Messenger me if they want to have a conversation about having symptoms. I will get back to everybody. I really want to be the pioneer of the person that's the first person to ever take patient advocacy to 36,000 feet and spread down through all communities.
Romy, thank you for sharing your lived experiences here with us on the bridge today. It's truly, truly appreciated. Again, I know we'll be in contact. You have my number, you have my email. Thank you so much, and pleasure joining me today. And we will see you later.
Absolutely, Rodney. Thank you so much for your time.
Patience and treat yourself with care. Getting a diagnosis is like hocus pocus.
Thank you for listening to the Bridge Podcast. To learn more about the Patience Program, visit our website at www.patience.umaryland.edu.
That's why you hearing this song. A second opinion, a really good way. So advocate if you don't feel okay. 99 symptoms, you can't see one. 99 symptoms, don't know the next one. 99 symptoms, you can't see one.